good to see that we have such an august gathering over here. My due regards and thanks to Sewa International for organizing this kind of uh, a gathering or congregation of the experts and of the stakeholders. Uh, and what was the best way to start the conference with the disaster management aspect in the Himalayas? Because we all know how Himalayans are prone to disasters, and especially we all know that whether it's a Himalayan area or any other areas in India or any part of the world, there are always disasters, or maybe we can say that there are always some hazards are always been there. We are always exposed to some kind of hazards. There is always a risk towards a disaster. But especially how the disaster, the risk or the hazard becomes a disaster. It becomes a disaster only, it depends how you respond to that hazard. Do you have any coping mechanism to overcome the hazard? What kind of capacity we have? What kind of resilience we have? And what is our vulnerability? That all decides how this hazard is going to become a disaster. And that's why we wake up when the disaster happens. And especially when disaster happens, we all run here that all firefighting take place. People come together. We have seen how pandemic, when the COVID happened, how people came together. We helped with the government manage the things. There were a lot of philanthropies. People had done donations and all these things. Rescue relief operations were there. All these things happen. And many organizations like Sewa also has done wonderfully in the rescue relief operations. We have seen all these efforts. But the key question arises, why we should wait till that hazard becomes a disaster? Should not we have a preparedness planning or something, a foresight planning before we know that Himalayan areas are prone to earthquake and landslides? Dr. Mahajan works, we already seen that. So what was his focus was that how to build resilient infrastructures. If you have resilient infrastructures, especially planned infrastructures, where they're supposed to be built. We all know that thousands of years in Himalayan communities are building their villages, their agriculture field in those areas, which are not, I mean, say, prone to hazards, but they know that how to overcome the disaster. They know that, okay, we can manage this kind of disaster. So that's why we have to learn from the traditional practices. They have built the houses, not the villages where you can see where the villages have built the Himalaya. They're not built in the valleys with the river beds and all these things. Now, each and every corner of Himachal, I can see, everywhere you can see not only plantation, houses, infrastructure, road, everything has been there. Cement plants are there. I don't know why this kind of development activities should be there in a very, very hazardous prone area. Should not we have any other development plan, any other development economic activity for these areas? This we have to plan and think over. This is what I think. And we are very glad to see that there were some good presentations like from Bhutan, which was done on the how Bhutan is coping with the disaster. And I was amazed to see their preparedness and especially the adaptive capacity, the way how they are building the adaptive capacity in Bhutan. That was really appreciable. And I think we should learn from Bhutan some of the issues, how they are managing or developing adaptive capacities of their communities. The next presentation, which was by Dr. Shrestha from Nepal, and I was surprised to see that Nepal has taken very good steps towards the SDG goals. Especially, it was nice to see the progress which has taken place regarding the climate action agenda number 13, how Nepal is pursuing over there. And the vulnerability assessment which he has shown, it was really amazing. And to see that the vulnerability assessment, it gives lot of insight how the vulnerability assessment should be done, how to assess the community and identify the community which are at risk. This was really appreciable, and it was very nice to know. Maybe I will also refer some of our case studies in future. Uh, then Dr. Abhishek ji already given the view what Seva has been doing for years. And what I feel especially, uh, the phase where India used to sit and watch the disasters has gone and over, what I feel. We have not now progressed in a lot of different areas as like early warning systems has done very progressive, we have done a lot of progress in the early warning system. We have also done a lot of work on the preparedness planning aspect, especially when after the Sendai framework came into being. lot of efforts were thrown into the preparedness planning. And I think India has not only learning to live with the disaster, the phase is already getting over. Now, which are actually managing the disaster. What already some of the disaster like Amphan and all these things we have seen. The Amphan cyclone which happened, there was no lives actually which was lost. But yeah, but one thing is that if you are able to save the lives, that's fine. But the livelihoods are always lost. So what you are going to do for those livelihoods? It is not something lives, but now I think we have to think further. Not only save the lives, but also how to save the livelihood, how to safeguard the livelihoods. What alternative livelihoods which can be given to those people who are undergoing those disaster, have gone the disaster, or what should be our planning so that whenever the hazard is always there or for some disaster take place, what should be the alternative planning can be taken. I think these are the steps are very much required, and especially in the Himalayan areas, I really feel people should take the call whether what kind of development activity they require in the Himalayan areas. Should we copy the models which are from the plains? We have already seen that we already try to put up the models which are good in plains, all economic development activities like industrialization taken in the plains. Like if you say the case of Maharashtra and southern states, they have prospered because of the industrialization. So should we take this model for the Himalayan areas? Should we go for industrialization in the Himalayan areas? And even if you go to the industrialization, what kind of industries you require over there? That we have to make a choice. And I feel uh, every place has come their uniqueness. And even if you see the traditional management practices which has been going on thousands of years in Himalayan areas, what kind of activities they have ventured, we can have a clue over there. So what could be successful or what should be taking up in the Himalayan area. So I think this is what our future perspective is there. With this, thank you again. Thank you very much.